In previous tutorials, we did setting up the connection between Firebase and Draftbit. We did a read screen to display all the information on a screen. And now I want to focus on writing. So how do you send data to Firebase from Draftbit? So I have this read screen that read all the entries that I have in my database. So carrots, eggs, steak, turnip, which is essentially how I cook those food at different temperature for a different amount of time. This is just as an example. You can do whatever you want. So how will I send data into Firebase? So I'm going to create a new screen here, blank screen. I'm going to call it write. And this screen, I'm going to put a view just to make it easier to style a little bit. And it's essentially going to be 3 text and 3 text input. Essentially creating a form to submit something. So I'm going to do 3 text and then 3 text input. Okay, the first one is going to be the name of the food, and I'm going to put a text input right next to it, so it's a little bit obvious. I'm going to name that text input food, and maybe a placeholder text like carrots, just so people know what to type in there. Food. Okay, and then the second one is going to be temperature. Temperature, and I'm going to put text input right next to it. And same thing, I'm going to give it a name so I can reference it later. I'm going to give it a placeholder so people know what to do. So whether it's a carrot, it would be like 190, for example, Fahrenheit. And the last one finally is going to be time. And I'm going to give, again, a variable name for that input, time, and a placeholder of like in minutes, like 60 minutes, for example. Okay, one thing I forgot is a submit button. So let me do that right now. Here's a button at the end of the form. I'm going to call it save. All right, now the reason I did that view is I can style it even just a tiny bit, so it's a little bit easier to see on the screen. So here we go. So now I have a form. I have all the information I will need to upload send something to Firebase. And so I'm going to add some interactivity. So when I select that save button, I'm going to go to interaction, the interaction tab. And on tap of that button, I'm going to create a new action. This is the Firebase request action, and I want specifically to create a document. I'm going to select the collections that I want to create it in, which in my case is cooks, and I'm going to give it the ID. So again, I've used the name of the food as the ID. You could leave it blank and it will do an auto-generated ID, which also works. That's really up to you. So in my case, I'm going to use the food. For the time, I'm going to use a text input. And for the temp, I'm also going to use the value of the text input. So now I have everything here. That should be working. Let's give it a try. So I'm going to preview. Here we go. So say I want to do some beats at 190 for 30 minutes. I'm going to save. Now, I did not do any follow-up action. So when I save, ideally, if you want a better user experience, you will go to a different screen or mention that something has been saved. For now, I really just want to focus on the functionality. So I just clicked save, and here it is. Here's my beats. It showed up here. So I was successfully able to send something over there. Now, this is essentially how you do right. I want to maybe add one more thing. As I just mentioned, from a UX point of view, it's a bit nicer if you have like a success screen. So I'm going to add another blank screen that I'm going to call done. And when I write something, so let me go back to that save button and to the actions that save button is going to do. Not only am I going to create a document, but I'm also going to navigate to that done page. There we go. So that should be a little nicer. And on that done page, I'm just going to put a little bit of text. I'm going to say, yay, you did it. All right, let me just style that a tiny bit again, just so we can see better. Here we go. And now I'm going to try again to add something else. Green bean. What did I say? 180 for 40 minutes. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to save. Oh no, I did not click preview. Sorry, third time is a charm. And now I'm in preview mode. Okay, green bean, 180, 30 minutes, save, and boom, you're done. You did it. This is the done screen. One extra thing that would be cool if I can say on the done screen, yay, you've added that specific food. So not only, going back to that save button, not only am I going to navigate to the done screen, I'm going to pass it some information about the food itself. So I'm going to pass it food, and now in the done screen, I'll see that I have access to that variable. So, yay, you've added food that I get, that variable that I get from navigation. All right, so now let's see if I can write something else. I'm going to preview it. What else can you do? I know you don't sous vide pasta, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just using pasta because that's the first thing that comes to mind. So now, yay, you've added pasta. So that food name was successfully not only added to my database, see here is pasta, but it was also sent back to that confirmation/done screen. And this is how you write information from a Draftbit app to Firebase.